This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and we just got finished watching UFC 274. And what the fuck just happened in that entire card? I'm still a little flabbergasted by some of it, and I'm trying to process. But overall, 14 fights, and I went 7-7, so broke 50% even. I actually broke even with my bets. I don't know what to say. Like, it was a weird night, especially at the end. Those of you watching this right now, still fresh in your memory, what the fuck happened with Rose? Yeah, drugged Rose Namajunas. What the fuck was wrong with her? She didn't do anything. What type of horse tranquilizer was she on? But let's just start from the beginning. Journey Newsom decisions. Fernie Garcia started off great. I had a good bet on Fernie at, or not Fernie, I'm sorry, on Journey by Journey and Fernie. It's funny. By decision, right? Cashes out. Pretty easy stuff for me. I'm like, he's going to be much faster than Fernie. Fernie doesn't throw kicks. That left high kick isn't there. So, Journey's going to be fine. Fernie looked good in the first round, but he didn't look like UFC caliber quite yet. And then Journey just did whatever he wanted at the second and third round. But yeah, cashes me out, gets me on top immediately off the bat. It doesn't go so well after that. Lupita Godinez defeats Ariane Carnelossi. Everyone calling her Lupita Godinez because she was just handling Ariane on the ground. She looked fantastic. I'm like, putting Mexican Canadians on the map this one. Not really much more to say than that. Just she looked phenomenal. She looked absolutely impressive. Tough, tough girl. Bad motherfucker, bad bitch herself, and Lupita Godinez. I'm very happy for her. And it's just like the hard work and the willingness to fight anyone is finally paying off. The way she handled Ariane was like, damn, she made her look like absolute shit. Like, wow, like she did not belong. And she's a strong girl, but technique defeats strength in this situation. And Lupita's strong. Like Lupi's a strong girl, but not as strong, in my opinion, to get over Carnelossi. She's on that on that horse tranquilizer shit too, on that horse meat, if you will. But yeah, the completeness of Lupita was breathtaking to watch. It blew my mind. It was really cool to see. Next up, this fight was kind of nuts, and there was a lot of fuckery going on with Clayton Rodriguez versus CJ Vergara. The decision was a split decision for CJ. I personally thought Clayton won round number one and round number three, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to complain about it. It was just kind of strange. It really set a tone for the rest of the night when it came to the judging. But Clayton looked world class round number one. CJ's a tough guy, man. Like, he pushed forward in that second round and he stole that second round. And I don't mean like, oh, he barely edged it out. I mean, he stole it. Like, give me your pocket check, bitch. He put down Clayton. I guess he made him shoot for a really bad takedown after he hit him with a beautiful left body shot with a left kick to the body, reverses the takedown, and then gets on top of him, controls him there, nearly finishes him. Third round was a bit, sloppy from both guys, but I thought Clayton did enough to win it with takedowns and control. It is what it is. I'm not complaining. Both guys looked really good. Clayton, though, it really makes you think. That new MMA commandment is do not bet debutante Dana White Contender Series guys, no matter how good they looked. I mean, they could have been anybody. It could have been Khabib making his debut. And I'm like, I'm staying the fuck away if he's fresh off the Contender Series. You don't want to really risk it. Those big lights can get to you. Clayton partially pulled a stunt. Like, I mean, he showed toughness. Both these guys did. I was very impressed by both. But yeah, Clayton kind of fell down a few notches. He shouldn't have been that high of a favorite. Vergara, I don't really know. Like, he just showed the willingness to win, which is cool, but I just don't know how skilled he is. Like, it just he took advantage of positions that Clayton really didn't handle well. But yeah, I was impressed by both, but I'm just not like over the moon with either. Next bout, Tracy Cortez defeats Melissa Gatto. Frankly, this was a lot more, I don't want to say dominant, but it was clearer rounds for Tracy Cortez. I thought they were going to be a lot closer. Gato, as I thought, like in the beginning, she's a pretty good dog. I think she can beat Cortez. The submission game off the bottom is good. Her striking's much better, but she didn't play that. She played bottom with Cortez, and I've been saying this a long time. If you don't think that while fucking Brian Ortega's putting up Tracy in a triangle, then you're fucking got another thing coming here. Tracy's used to it. She knows it's coming, literally. And anything Gato would have done wasn't going to be like out of the norm for Tracy. So it was more so Gato put herself in those positions, willingly to lose, more so than Tracy doing anything spectacular. Like Tracy, we know what she's going to do. She got taken down herself. It was just not a very, you know, excellent performance from either girl. I consider this more of a loss for Melissa Gatto than really a win for Tracy Cortez. Tracy didn't really show her well-roundedness. Her striking wasn't all that great. Props to her though for her submission defense. She's always had that really good submission defense, even back in like Invicta or so. But now it's like different level. I can at least trust her now that if she were to take down a really good jiu-jitsu practitioner, I consider Melissa to be quite good, that I can trust her not to like get caught in any arm bars or triangles, especially, dating who she's dating. But yeah, moving on. Francisco Trinaldo, he knocked out Danny Roberts like 3 times in this fight. I was tweeting, like I'm getting ready for my stop the fight meme tweet, and Francisco did a really good job. He hurt Danny multiple times actually, I think every single round. Danny, I'll give him props. He didn't get put out completely. He kept fighting. He kept engaging and making it like more of a firefight. Like after he got dropped, he would get back up after getting composed, and then he would just kind of go after it, very much so like Rob Font would in the beginning of each round after he got dropped. So I give Danny Roberts some props for that. But yeah, Francisco Trinaldo, do not sleep on him. I don't give a fuck how old he gets. He can be 50 years old, and he's fighting like maybe maybe a debutante from the Contender Series. I'm going to always pick Francisco. If you've got a questionable chin, Francisco's going to make you do that chicken dance. But yeah, props to Francisco. Of course, keep fighting the way he's been fighting. He's not discouraged moving up a weight class. And also props for Danny, because he took those shots, he recovered well, and we'll get to the bad knockout, but you don't always want to see a really bad knockout. And the way that Danny was kind of like wobbling around, you kind of sensed it coming. So props to him for recovering. And we'll get to people who recover very well later on as well. But yeah, pretty good fight. Next bout, Blagoy defeats De Lima. I was confused by this one. Like, I thought De Lima won. So this is another fight that like I picked De Lima to win. I had a bet on De Lima to win. I thought I cashed it because I'm like, yeah, he won 2 rounds. First round, clear as day. Third round, close enough, but he won it, like edges it. They gave it to Blagoy, and I'm like, I guess whatever. Like, I'm not salty about it, but Blagoy really didn't do a whole ton. He did very well in the second. He was actually clipping De Lima in the second round, and I'm like, okay, Blagoy's a tough guy. He's got a great chin, and De Lima was kind of being a little kind of stupid in the second round, but the third round, like I thought he controlled the cage well enough and controlled Blagoy against the cage. He even had a like high amplitude takedown at the end of the round. I'm like, yeah, he sealed this shit. I don't care if nothing really happened. Like, he did enough to win it. It is what it is. It's an official L on my part, but kind of leaves a sour taste. Like, I would have been fine if that happened. Like, it was pretty close, but as the fights progress with the judging, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Arizona, man, like, you gotta watch out. Next bout, Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell. I don't know if this is fight of the night, but it was my fight of the night. We had everything in it. It was like a perfect porno. We had excitement. We had a climax. And just like me after watching porn, I finished early. This fight was fantastic. Brandon Royval snatches up the neck of Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell's double tapping. It was just like, I feel bad for Schnell. Of course, his mom died. I didn't know that. So I'm like, ooh, and Schnell, props to him, though. He went out there and he tried to get that fight finished. So I'm like, you can just sense that urgency. I'm like, I want to win this shit so bad. And I criticized him in the past because when he fought, what's his name, Bontarin, he didn't do that. He wasn't actively going for a finish. He was too chicken shit. None of that happened here. I don't Is he on a 2-fight losing streak? Yeah, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. I cannot wait to see Matt Schnell come back despite him losing. Eh, I don't even really consider it to be a huge loss. He shouldn't have fought, especially if his mom died during training camp. Like, it sucks, you don't want that to happen. It can really alter your perception on shit, kinda like with, he fought Hooker, what's his name? Nasrat. His mother literally died that same week, I believe, and sometimes these guys need to realize, like, I don't care how tough you are, you probably shouldn't fight because 'cause you're not gonna be in the right headspace. But the fact that he performed like that, even though he lost, was, like, pretty cool. Brandon Royval, what else can you really say? He's hittable, but he's fun to watch, and if you sleep on him, if you leave your neck exposed, he's gonna snatch it up. The way he took that neck was, like, beautiful. Um, I had him on a parlay, but it got ruined. Moving on, Macy Chiasson versus Norma Dumont. I was on the phone with my aunt for a majority of the fight. Can't really comment on it. Norma, from what I saw, was that Chiasson was controlling and going for takedowns, but Norma was actually landing heavy punches from the butt punches. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight from the ass meat to the fist to the chin of Macy Chiasson. And I thought she was winning. Like, I guess nothing against the cage, being held, like, Norma being held against the cage for like 4 minutes versus Norma actually landing significant punches. I thought Norma was going to win that. Didn't seem to be the case. Don't really care. I'm not too shocked. Macy, I don't know, man. Like, Norma couldn't really stuff a takedown from what I saw. So no real comment on this one. Just, kind of weird judging. Next bout, Randy Brown versus KHAOS Williams. I was talking to the people in the Discord, Tatooine Dream and Swords as well, as to why KHAOS Williams lost this fight. This was a really close fight. It came down to the third round. Like, Williams was, winging it, and Randy was more active. The third round happened, 1-1. There was a bit of a knockdown. Randy Brown gets back up, and then that fight was won by the last few moments of that round. It was really close, and when you have a really close round, like, as a judge myself, you expect something from a fighter. Like, as I'm fucking judging horrible fights sometimes, and not to say that this was a horrible fight, but when they're close and they're bad, you're like, please God, one of you idiots, give me something. And in this case, the idiot to do something was Randy Brown. He had Williams in a tie plum, I believe, and then he was just blasting knees up the middle, and multiple knees, like significant knees, that won him that fight. Clearly, KHAOS did break away, and he landed, like, I believe, a Superman right. I can't really recall specifically if it was that, but he landed like a leaping right hand, but it wasn't enough. Randy did enough to win that round, 29-28 in my eyes. Not really much to say. KHAOS needs to set up his punches more. Randy's going to get his head blasted off eventually. He dips to the right too much. Someone with a good left high kick is going to catch him, and it's going to be lights out for him. I would absolutely love to see Randy Brown versus Andre Fiallo, because, Andre's not going to play that fucking shit. He's going to catch the chin of Randy Brown, or Randy Brown's going to just style on him from the outside. It's going to be a fun fight if it gets made. For KHAOS Williams, he needs some of the KISS fundamentals to keep it stupid, keep it simple, stupid. He wings too hard. Had he lessened the winging and been a little bit more technical and listened and actually threw a left high kick, he could have had more success. That left high kick would have prevented Randy Brown from ducking so much, making KHAOS Williams not have to swing and miss a lot, because that was the primary weapon that Randy did. He ducked, kind of styled on him, did the, like, had that not happened because of the threat of the left high kick, I think KHAOS would have had more success. I had KHAOS, not salty about it. Randy Brown won that one clearly. Next bout didn't happen. OSP versus Shogun. What a horrible fight. I mean, I bet Shogun, not a whole ton. I took a little bit itty bitty little baby shot on Shogun Hua, because I'm like, there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. There was a chance. Shogun thought he won that fight. Shogun literally thought he was up 2-1, and he didn't do shit in the third. Shogun even raised his arm because he thought they called his name. I'm like, dude, Shogun, what the fuck? He looked fine. Like, he looked better in this fight than the first fight, obviously, because he wasn't knocked out and he didn't slip on a skateboard. But the fact that Shogun did absolutely bare minimum and thought he won the fight, he felt so comfortable with round number 1 and round number 2 that he really didn't do much in round number 3 was like, yeah, I don't know what to say. It disappointed me. It's I don't know. It's kind of like when you find out, like, you say you have a hero, and then gets put in a situation where you're like, "Oh, fucking John Wayne's gonna save the day. There's a bank robber. John Wayne is here. He's gonna fucking find a way to wrestle up these it's gonna call them engines, but wrestle up these intruders." And he fucking screams, runs out the fucking bank like a little bitch. You're like, what the fuck was that? It's not the guy who I know. That's not the Shogun I know. A guy who takes a round off. Like, it was just embarrassing, man. Like, I hate to say that. Like, OSP, I'm not too shocked that he fought the way that he fought. Kind of boring. Just keeps up the middle. If it works, it works. More so disappointed in Shogun. And it's not sour grapes that I lost a small bet. It's more of like I expected more from a legend like Shogun. But it is what it is. My heart is fucking broken because I don't know how to handle this. I can't process Michael Chandler knocking out Tony Ferguson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've said it before. I tweeted it. I love Michael Chandler. He's probably one of my top favorite fighters of all time. Oddly enough, DC is also one of my top favorite fighters, and he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. But Tony is one of these guys that I've always enjoyed to watch. He's a fun guy to watch. He has his own style, and seeing him get knocked out like that was harsh. Like, I'm happy for Chandler, right? Like, deep down, I'm like, fuck yeah, Chandler did it. But when Tony stopped moving and wasn't moving, I'm like, oh shit, this is a problem. Like, you go from ecstatic that your guy won, a guy you predicted to win one, to like serious concern for someone's health. Like, dude, wiggle a toe or something, Tony. It was bad. Like, it was a great knockout. Of course, like Anderson Chandler over here, even getting his son in there, it's like you can just see like he was so happy. He calls out Connor. I think I told people in the Discord, like, I don't have enough jizz in my system to watch that fight, Connor versus Chandler. Like, I will die of dehydration because I just couldn't handle it. But man, Tony, it's sad that I find this to be more of a sad fight for Tony opposed to like happiness for Chandler, and it kind of bums me out. Like, I like bloodshed, I love violence, but maybe that's a little too much for me. I'm like, poor Tony. He has to retire. I don't know what you guys think. I think he has to retire now. Like, I don't want to see him take any more punishment. I know the type of competitor Tony is, man. The guy is just fucking bone and steel. Really, he just loves to fight. There's no quit in him. But after that, I'm like, I no mas. Antonio, no mas. That's enough. Go back home, be a family man. For Chandler, though, I'd love to see that Connor fight. Like, I know I just said it's probably going to kill me watching that fight because I love both those guys, but Connor versus Chandler would be something. It would deserve a main event. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say, man. Like I have this, as you saw, this Tony Ferguson autograph picture. I got it in Anaheim. He was doing a signing, and I got to meet Tony. Weird fucking guy. I'm not gonna say like, oh, he was so cool. Like, dude was fucking weird, but the fact that like he was cool enough and he didn't cut me with his elbows, so that's good enough for me. But no, it just sucks to see a guy that you admired and you've seen his fights, man. Like, I remember watching him versus Barboza that same night. Like, we came back from the event, the Anaheim event, and we go to my buddy's house, and we're eating tacos, and the dude's like, we gotta watch Tony Ferguson versus Edson Barboza. I heard it was a barn burner, and we're watching this shit, eating tacos at 3 a.m. on his TiVo, and it's like, what a fucking fight. And this is actually from that fight. It's after he submitted Edson, and he's covered in blood and is just ecstatic, and it's just seeing him motionless on the ground kind of makes you feel really fucking bad. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. But yeah, DC got inducted to the Hall of Fame and made this knockout kind of lessen the blow. But yeah, it is what it is. Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. What a fucking shit show, right? Well, I can't really talk about it too much. All I can do is bitch about it, and I don't really want to do that. But I'd like to know what you guys thought about it. It was an awful fight, absolutely. Trevor Whitman, new sport killer. I kept thinking that, like, what is he telling Rose? Like, you're doing beautifully. No, had Rose done more, she would have won. Honestly start thinking, like, I think the judges punished Rose because in reality, she didn't lose her belt. Like, she did obviously lose the fight, but she didn't lose the title fight. Like, it when it comes to judges and shit, like in that whole world, it's like it takes a lot to take the belt from someone like that. Like, Carla would have had to have done a little bit more to literally take it from the champ. That whole, perception and mindset that old school dudes have, like boxing judges and shit. But damn, that was embarrassing. Embarrassing for that camp, embarrassing for Rose herself. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm not mad at people who bet Carla. Like, they were right. Like, you were 100% right. It was closer. It was closer than what the odds said. I had Rose to win. I had her in a couple parlays. She was the last leg of my parlays. I I would say have mercy on me a little bit. Don't destroy me in the comments for saying, "Oh, you picked Rose at chalk." I did not expect that to happen. I don't think anyone did, to be fair. Like, if you made money on Carla, bravo to you. Great bet. I don't think you deserve it, but it is what it is. You got your money, get out. Solid. For me, I feel more dirty that she lost that way and that I lost money that way than anything. Like, fuck, if Carla would have lost by getting dropped on her head again, I would have been like, oh, well, this shit happens. For Rose to lose her belt by literally doing nothing is like, it's a new level of like saltiness, right? And I think Rose is just a phenomenal fighter. I think she's one of the best fighters I've ever seen in my life, especially when it comes to women's MMA and what she's capable of. It's just that she went full Clay Guida versus Gray Maynard, and it like makes you a little sick to your stomach. She was better than Carla everywhere, but she chose not to do anything about it. She took Carla down in the fucking fifth round. She could have done that every round because Carla's got pretty shitty takedown defense herself. Anytime Carla tried a takedown, she couldn't hold Rose down. It's like, Rose, you're better than this. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to lose money on Rose like this. Even when they were announcing the decision, I already like knew it was almost. I was trying to do a reverse jinx when you're like, and new, expecting them to say and still, and no, it just happened to be and new. I'm like, motherfucker, it didn't work this time. But yeah, horrible fight. I don't think Rose deserves a rematch after that fucking stinker. Let's put Carla Esparza versus Jessica Andrade. Let's see how that happens. We've never seen that fight happen before. I think Carla's got a good chance to beat Jessica Andrade, don't you know? So I'm, yeah, what a fucking abortion of a fight. Whew. Charles Oliveira defeats Justin Gaethje. I had Justin Gaethje. I took a shot on Justin Gaethje at plus money. I took a shot on Justin Gaethje after the weight debacle from Charles Oliveira, and I learned a few things about not only Justin but about Charlie Olives over here. Justin, the way he fought, like he did well in the first round, like he hurt Charles, but Jose is right. He was right all along. I thought this fight was going to be a lot closer. I thought Justin had a better shot at beating Charles than almost anybody, but Jose was right all along. Justin's kind of like a Rose Namajunas, if you know what I'm saying, a little slow up on the top. He did not fight intelligently. He he fought recklessly, and like when Rose lost, I was like, maybe Trevor Whitman isn't this genius that we thought he was. And I'm like, I think I'm fucked. I think whatever game plan they might have for Charles is not going to be the right game plan. So I just kind of knew, I'm like, I'm kind of fucked. Justin got dropped and hurt early. Charles capitalized. Justin got back up, got his senses dropped Charles. And this is what pisses me off about people fighting Charles. Um, Dustin did it. Chandler, not quite. He didn't do this actually. Now that I think about it, part of the reason why I like um oh my god, I just said his name, Michael Chandler, is because he's not afraid. He fights kind of dumb sometimes when he shouldn't, but he's willing to put himself in danger to cause chaos. Dustin didn't do that, and Justin didn't do that. And what I mean is, he dropped Charles. Charles flops to his back. That Charlie Olive's flop is OP. And what I say is that when he gets hurt, he flops to his back, fucking Ric Flair flop, and he hopes that the guy comes in, or he tries to scare them off, almost like a defensive tactic, but it's also an offensive tactic. Like, Uma, I got hurt, I'm dropped. What should I do? Get to your back. That way, people think that your dangerous like bottom game is going to cause issues. So that way, you get a bit of time to recover. When you get back up, you go on the onslaught because that way the barrage stops. So Justin drops Charles with an uppercut. He falls to his back because he was actually hurt. When he falls to his back, he recovers because he knows Justin is too much of a chicken to go in and fight him in the ground. Same thing, like the exact same thing Dustin did. So I'm like, what the fuck? Just I trust Justin to go in there, and if he's on top, just bam, 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 continue the onslaught. Didn't happen that way. Charles recovers. He goes after Justin. He does a good job, and then he eventually drops Justin. Actually, no, Charles gets he didn't get dropped the second time. Justin hits him with a clean shot. Charles once again does the whole defensive offensive tactic of flopping to his back. I'm like, oh fuck. Charles is gonna keep doing this until he like stays undefeated for the next 5 years or so. But yeah, he gets back up. He drops Justin. Justin gets choked out. I'm like, yeah, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, Justin did not look all that great. Those leg kicks were fantastic in the first place, but when Charles kind of got a feel for him, I'm like, okay, cool. I can't say anything more about Charles, right? Like, I think part of me still thinks he's got that quit in him, but the fact that he's negating that quit with the backflop, and I'm being 100% honest. I know it sounds like a joke, but I really do think that that backflop is super effective because it creates a narrative of a threat. Like, oh, I am so hurt, just kind of like Verdum did to Fedor. I'm like, oh, you dropped me. I hope you don't come into my guard. And it's like that's what he wants me to do. I'm not going to do it, but in reality, you should follow him to the guard and beat the shit out of him at that point, because I think that's the best way to beat Charles. Because if you give him the opportunity to recover by backing up and having him come up, it's not beneficial for you. You have to follow up. So I'm excited to see Charles again. I want to see a guy that can potentially not be afraid to get in those scrambles or in Charles's guard. So I'm very interested in that because I don't want to say I think I have a tell here from Charles. I'm getting this feeling, right? Like he keeps doing that. And eventually someone's going to go into his guard. And what is he going to do if he gets cracked? Because I vividly remember Paul Felder, a guy who isn't known for his like great defense, just fuck the shit out of Charles with elbows. And what happens if someone with a good top game gets on top of him and just is relentless? I'm curious to find that out, but I can't. I don't want to like make this into like a oh my god, I'm salty about Charles thing. Um, Charles, he's getting tougher and he's fighting smarter and he's fun to watch. He made up for that stink show that was Carla versus Rose, and I can't hate on the guy. Like, right, even with the whole scale incident, like it is what it is. Half a pound. Like, I'm not like what a fucking sport killer he is and what how disrespectful. That's not me. It's just a strange situation to be in. He's no longer the UFC champ. He's a number one contender. I wonder who the next person is to face the number one contender for the vacant belt. That'll be fun to watch. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this entire card. It's fucking weird, man. Like I feel weird about the whole Carla Esparza being champ. Like she's good for her, right? Like she's gonna be champ during her wedding. I feel weird about some of these decisions, right? Like I don't know, man. Like it feels it feels bad. Like Arizona is trying to be the new Texas. I don't like it. And then Shogun disappointed me just by, being a little too hesitant and not performing. And then Justin, it's really not about the money that I lost on Justin. It wasn't much. Like I would have been up like maybe 5 units had Justin won. But it's really not about the money. I broke even, like I mentioned. It's just more of like you should have fought a little bit smarter. You could have had a chance. You could have extended it to over half or a round and a half. Like I knew a bunch of people that thought this was going to go over a round and a half, and because Justin fought a little sloppy, it didn't happen. So it just kind of sucks that happened. But yeah, those are my thoughts about this card, UFC 274. For those of you wondering, the next video prediction card for Rakic versus Blachowicz is going to be a bit late, so hopefully this tides you over for that. But as always, those have been my thoughts on the recap for UFC 274. As always, fuck Rose Namajunas.